The Osun State High Court in Osogbo has sentenced Ramon Adedoyin, the owner of Hilton Hotel, Ile-Ife, and others to death by hanging for being culpable in the murder of Timothy Adegoke, a master's student of the Obafemi Awolowo University. The court also discharged and acquitted 3 of the 6 workers of the hotel arrested in connection with the crime.
Okay, so you heard it there. The judgments of the court, the High Court sitting in Osogbo, in Osun State, convicting Ramon, the owner of the hotel where the master's degree student of the University of Ife lodged, and then did not wake up alive. His life was taken, and he was buried in a shallow grave nearby, and further investigation revealed that he was killed in the hotel. And as a result of that, the owner of the hotel was arrested along with other persons, and are made to stand trial in the Osun State High Court. And judgment has been given by the Chief Judge of Osun State, and Ramon has been found guilty. Ramon is the owner and founder of Oduduwa University in Osun State, and also the owner of the hotel where this unfortunate incident happened, leading to the ending of the life of that young and promising Nigerian citizen. There are legal issues, and I'd like to address the issues, especially for the non-lawyer, to understand what's applicable following the conviction. Now, the first question here is, does his sentence to death by hanging align with the position of the Nigerian law? And the answer is yes. Nigeria still retains the death penalty in its legal system. And so when someone is found guilty of the commission of a capital offense, capital offenses are murder, kidnapping, armed robbery, and offenses in that direction. Those are capital offenses. Once someone is found guilty of the commission of those offenses, the person is sentenced mostly to death by hanging or by firing squad. And therefore, the sentencing of Ramon to death by hanging by the Osun State High Court is in line with the provisions of the Nigerian law and therefore lawful. It is the same thing that is applicable in some states in the United States of America, where people found guilty of commission of capital offenses are given the capital punishment. Now, what does the sentence mean in practical terms? The sentence of Ramon to death by hanging in practical terms means that from the moment of his being sentenced, he moves from the court straight to the prison, and then he will be kept in the section meant for those awaiting execution. He's not going to be with the regular prisoners. He's going to go into the section that is meant for those that have been convicted for capital offenses and then awaiting execution. Now, the other question is, can he be granted bail? The answer is no, he cannot be granted bail. The right to bail is usually given to those that are yet to be convicted, okay? So you are in court and the law presumes you innocent until proved guilty. Now, having been convicted, that presumption of innocence is no more. To that extent, Ramon is not entitled to bail under the Nigerian legal system. He remains in prison custody until the time of the execution and will not be granted bail. He can only be granted bail on exceptional circumstances. I will get to that. Now, the other question is, what are the options open to him? Are there options open to him? Or having been condemned to death, is that the end? Now, there are options open to him. The first option is that he can accept the decision of the court and just take it that truly he's been found guilty, and then he accepts it and then makes himself available for the further processes of the law, so he can accept the sentence. In the alternative, he can decide to file an appeal against the sentence. In that case, he was convicted by the High Court. He can only appeal, from the High Court to the Court of Appeal. So he could decide to appeal to the nearest Court of Appeal in that environment. He can appeal to the Court of Appeal in Ilorin, Kwara State. There is also the Court of Appeal in Akure, which is close to Osun State. He can appeal there. He can appeal to the Court of Appeal in Ibadan. He can appeal to the Court of Appeal Lagos. Whichever Court of Appeal he decides to file his appeal. But from my own knowledge, I did my national service in Osun State. I know that the people of Osun State mostly file their appeals to the Court of Appeal sitting in Ilorin, Kwara State. So Ramon can file an appeal and then canvass arguments in the appeal to show to the Court of Appeal that the trial court was in error to have convicted him and sentenced him to death. He is expected by law to show exceptional arguments before the Court of Appeal can agree with him that the trial court was wrong. So these are the options available to him. He can accept, he can decide to file an appeal. Now, when he files an appeal, he can apply also for the grant of bail, okay? And the grant of bail pending the determination of an appeal is not something that is granted just like that. It can only be granted on exceptional circumstances. And in this case, Ramon has been convicted to death for the murder of someone who lodged in his hotel, a capital offense. And therefore, the grant of bail to Ramon must be under very exceptional circumstances. Maybe ill health, and he must show that the prison is unable to attend to his kind of ill health, or any other exceptional circumstances before the Court of Appeal can grant him bail. And even with the grant of bail, such bail is with very stringent conditions most of the time. But ordinarily, he will not be granted bail pending the determination of appeal. There is the other question. When there is an appeal, can the judgment of the trial court be executed? Remember that the judgment of the trial court said that he should be he is sentenced to death by hanging. So, can he be taken to the hangman when there is an appeal? The answer to this is no. He cannot be taken to the hangman until his appeal is determined, and that's the position of the Nigerian legal system. So, once someone is sentenced to death by hanging, he can be executed immediately. But if there is an appeal that he has lodged before a higher court, the agents of government, the officials of government and prison have to wait until the appeal is determined. If the appeal is determined and it still goes against him, at that point, the instruments of law can be activated to ensure that the sentence of the trial court is executed as pronounced against Ramon. There is also the question about his son that is said to be at large. Remember that his son was also implicated in the very sad narrative that led to the death of this gentleman. So his son, we understand, is at large. So the question is, if the son is arrested today, does time run against the state in that regard? Can it be said that time has expired and therefore he is no more guilty? No. The law is that time does not run against crime, against the state. So the commission of an offense can lead to the arrest of anybody at any time whenever the person is found. So whenever Ramon's son is found by the agents of the state, he can be brought before the court of law and then made to pass through trial. And if found guilty, he will also be sentenced as appropriate by the court. So that's the size of this edition of You and the Law. I do hope you have learned one or two things. I encourage you to subscribe to this channel so that from time to time we can sit together like this to learn law in the most informal way as quickly as possible.